live with a constant fear that everything important to me will be here one day and gone the next morning. Although I know I'm kind of an idiot for thinking this because this probably won't happen. Although while I think the idea of the presence of things I value being inherently uncertain is based on a valid concern. I want to explore this observation and see what causes this uncertainty, and how we can find ways to live life well if we know how unstable everything is. In short, the internet is Kafkaesque, so let's talk about it.
I have three things to help me: the cat, and the books, and the music.
Okay, so for this video, I'm gonna run up to where I was camping last year. I made a video on my YouTube channel back in October about the time, about last May and June, when I was kind of going on a little mini adventure by myself, and I spent 2 weeks camping in the woods, and I now live near where I camped at, so I'm gonna go drive up there and show everyone around, what it was like being up there, and what it was like to be up there. Okay, so to start, for people who don't know, I'm going to define what it means for something to be Kafkaesque. So that comes from the author Franz Kafka. I haven't read much of his work. I've read one of his books and a short story or two of his, but I explore what it means for something to be Kafkaesque, and that is for it was described to me with a metaphor. It's the feeling of a string being pulled taut, well, that's fraying, but that hasn't quite snapped yet. And that is what it feels like something to be Kafkaesque, and for things to be unstable and on shaky and steady sort of philosophical ground. And in a way, I feel like that connects to YouTube and the internet in the sense that these things that we rely on and assume as normal, as if, it's like the sun rising in the morning and oxygen being in the earth for us to breathe, we assume that these are constant, steady things that won't change, but I don't really think that they are completely. But this is, of course, something I still feel anyway at the same time. As for my life, I have come to depend on two sources primarily for news and information, and that would be Google and Twitter, and then I rely on like YouTube and other platforms for content and stuff like that. And in short, what I've noticed is that all of the content I consume, all the media that I watch, where it is hosted at, who controls it, who ultimately owns it, is owned and operated by 2 to 3 major tech companies primarily. You know, something that's terrifying, it's just the thought and the potential of the fact that if Google wanted to one day, they could, for whatever reason they felt like, just shut off YouTube. There's no legal obligation for YouTube or Twitter to not only keep running their platforms if they feel like it, but even for them to save the data if they do end up shutting down that website. We give a lot of freedom in countries like America to companies to do whatever they feel like, and I think that we put too much faith in them to do good for society, when in reality they don't have much accountability, and they can shut things down like that if they feel like it. I mean, look at something like MySpace. It was the biggest platform back then, but now it is gone, and like that it can fall apart. Same with Facebook. It was once super popular, everyone was into it. Now it's mostly people in the older generations who are on it. And the thing is, let's say if YouTube just shut down one day because of problems with money or user usage, or Google falling apart as a company, where would all of my favorite content creators go, and what would happen to all that data? That goes for any platform. It's this concept of the fact that we ourselves don't actually own a lot of the stuff that we perceive with our senses, and it's like the concept of that we don't actually own a lot of the stuff that we perceive with our senses. Now, of course, on another angle, if YouTube just vanished one day, even if whether or not all the content just disappeared, and you can think of any apocalyptic reason as to why, but it's a deeper thing about life when as more and more time goes on, about how things around you that you thought were just there and were going to be there forever, one day the unthinkable happens and they're not. And it really, you can scale it up to happening at the level of a company and a platform, and at a societal scale too. Now, let's say maybe YouTube shuts down, all my creators go to like another platform like Vimeo or whatever. That's fine. Now, maybe my fears were sort of unjustified in that respect. However, one thing I've wondered is that how much of the meaning of the content I consume is affected and even determined, shaped, molded by the platforms they're hosted on. And in other words, how much would everyone's content change if we all switch platforms, and would we kind of miss the way things were, even, and also be hurt by the fact that it could never be that way again? Another thing, and this goes back to the sense of putting faith in a large, body without being required to do anything for you in return, is look at YouTubers who, if you've been on YouTube for long enough like I have, watching them go from being a small YouTuber who just does it for fun to making a career out of it, which is amazing. Well, what happens when they put their whole income source and pay rent and food and bills and stuff, and help support their families and friends with income that can just turn off like that? There's no job protection, or they don't have, YouTube doesn't even have to, YouTube can just turn your ads off like that. YouTube can stop recommending your videos. YouTube can push you down the algorithm if it feels like it, or stop pushing your videos, and like that, things can go up and down. And so there's no stability in it, and yet it is such a gift to be able to be a YouTuber. I can play a video here to give you an example of someone who's been in that position, who knows what it's like.
So I had to try and fix this issue because the channel was making absolutely no money. Thankfully, there is a silver lining. YouTube has actually enabled the video editing feature for any video. I think previously you could only edit a video up to 200k views, and then it disabled it for some reason, which is just completely brain dead. But now they've reopened the feature, so no matter how many views your video has, it can be edited. So I was given two choices to try and get the revenue back: completely remove the outro, or overlay the outro with new music. I went with the second option because I want to preserve the outro. You know the funny meme where the TV man removes the TV and there's a JPEG of an image? That is integral to my channel.
And so
now,
all of this is just the sense that it's not that it will happen anytime soon, like everything's going to disappear one morning. It's living with the knowledge of the potential that it could be that way that is just forever unsettling, and it leaves this underlying, like, low-level feeling of shakiness that never really leaves you, just because of how it is. YouTube doesn't legally, like, YouTube can't no one can go to jail for deleting your YouTube channel if they feel like it. It's that type of thing that just, as you get older, you just begin to fear and worry about that type of thing. In sense, it kind of comes from some recent traumas of mine. It comes from feeling like, last year, losing a lot, losing contact with people, getting stuff stolen off of me, losing contact, and just getting lost and almost feeling like I've lost everything at points, and trying to rebuild my life together. Once you regain it, you always feel like you have to keep a really tight grip on it, on everything that you have, and just when you have that happen, you begin to consider how impermanent everything in life is. Well, another thing in a more abstract sense is in a more higher level sense, or in a more like larger scale sense, would be that this trend of there's this trend I've noticed, and it's just a general trend, at least where I live, of just everything becoming owned by someone else, and about this sort of systematic imbalance wherein a small number of companies and wealthy individuals and families and groups and governments own a significant majority of everything, not just money, but land, property, housing, and media and music as well. So, like, it's convenient to have streaming services where you can just go and play a video instead of getting like a VHS, or instead of having it downloaded on your computer. It's convenient to have all of your videos uploaded and accessible, and to have music on Spotify that you can listen to. But everything that you own and all the media and everything is owned on a server owned by a company. You aren't actually owning it. It's like renting it. It's like the concept of how it's so hard to buy a house now, and everything is like owned. Everything is like a rental or is an Airbnb, and people are turning to debt and leases and stuff like that instead of actually owning the property that they own. And it is a trend that I don't think is inherently is like 100% evil and is wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking out debt or like having a streaming service. But I think it's something to note that there's nothing wrong with making sure that to keep yourself feeling like things are stable, to just own something and feeling like you've anchored yourself to the ground and setting that as a goal. One thing I've thought about doing is just not in the sense of I think everything is going to disappear one morning and the apocalypse is going to happen, but just to feel better about life and where I am, and waking up in the morning with having access to the things I love, is buying a hard drive or two where I save all my favorite YouTube videos, music, films, books, writings and stuff, and to just have that, just to feel as if I own the, for that feeling of ownership and security to have next to me, even if I almost never have to turn on the hard drive and use it. So, I was going to go up to a waterfall. However, I go up there and I can play the video here. It's fenced off. I don't know. I don't think go there, and I don't know why. But I was gonna go show everyone where I camped at last year. But it's nice over here as well. So no complaints. Okay, well, I'm back here. Well, it got too windy. My camera kept falling over, so I gotta go back to my room now. It is what it is, but I will work with it here. So going on what I was saying earlier, I've sometimes felt that that I'm shallow for wishing that things that I liked years ago, that I still do but aren't popular anymore, wishing that other people like them with me, and it is something that, I have to live with, that not only will, maybe the content itself that you're watching will be present and accessible forever, that the audience who watches it alongside you might not be there in the future. Now, I've kind of come to realize that finding a sense of stability outside of yourself in any sense at all is going to lead to pain in the long run. I've learned that it is best to find ways to it's not like we can't, of course I rely on access to things outside of my mind, like media and people and technology and things and books and stuff like that. I've learned that in order to find it, that although you might depend on those things for enjoyment and entertainment, meaning and stability has to come from within. And I've learned that moving on and finding, and also coming back to things that you used to enjoy can be a sort of rebirth. So a good example of this would be when I was really young, like about a decade ago. I was into EDM, so I liked. I can show you some tracks here that I like to listen to, and I was really into it. But I kind of in middle school grew out of it and started listening to other types of music once I got to high school, because of bullying and also because my friends were into it. I was about the only one who listened to some of this stuff. But as I've gotten older, into my early 20s now, I'm 21, I've grown back into myself, and I feel more comfortable listening to it by myself and not needing to have other people listening to it with me. And I also live in a pretty large city, so I am able to go to concerts, and I might not have anyone I know personally who can go with me, but it's so comforting to know that the people around me at a concert who are listening to music that I listen to have tastes where this artist that they like is someone that they really enjoy, just like me, when the people around me, I can't find anyone who feels the same way. And so concerts are really special places for me, and I really like going to them. Now, of course, the issue is a confidence thing, and it's nice to have that aspect to it, and always knowing that being proactive in situations where like you find that you're lacking something that you used to have, instead of just assuming it's gone, go look for it, which is what I do with concerts. But I also find that no one can be trusted, and not even that no one can be really fully trusted. And so I found a way to acknowledge that expanding the size of my inner self, and allowing myself to just be content with being alone and enjoying something without someone else when there is no one else to enjoy it with.
To write is a very it's a very solitude, you know. You have to work alone when you're writing. So I need some things to help me to keep on writing. So music is one of them.